When it comes to following up with potential suppliers, whether they be distributors or brands, there's just so much room for improvement that I see in the Amazon space. So there's either people that are following up way too frequently and pestering some of these companies, or there's people that are following up not frequently enough and leaving a lot of opportunities on the table. So that really is the purpose of this video. I'm going to go into ways to follow up, the cadence for follow-up, and also things to avoid as well. So if this video is helpful, be sure to subscribe for more. I come out with these videos pretty much every weekday. Leave a comment if there's something that you want me to address further or maybe in another video, and then be sure to like the video as well. Also, follow me on Twitter at Ganim because that's where I put out really shorter form information like this on a multiple times a day basis. So when it comes to follow-up, guys, that's going to be the most important part of the wholesale business by far, because I cannot tell you how many times I've had to follow up multiple times in order to get some of our best accounts. And as far as the accounts that are the worst accounts, either the worst pricing or the most competition or just generally the worst all-around accounts, those are the ones that I didn't have to follow up at all to get, right? Those are the ones that I opened on the first call with no opposition and no pushback at all. So those are the ones that you definitely want to avoid. And I've addressed those types of suppliers in another video. So when it comes to the cadence of follow-up, and cadence meaning how often you want to follow up with some of these companies, it all depends, in my opinion, on your rapport with the person that you've been speaking to and the initial answer that they gave you. So if you call up a supplier and they tell you, no, sorry, we're not interested, or we're not taking Amazon sellers, and that's that, then that type of a response is going to make me want to follow up less frequently than I would had they said, oh, well, no Amazon sellers right now, but we might be opening it up down the road. So if I got a response like that, then I'm probably going to be more likely to follow up a little more frequently. And as far as your rapport with the person that you spoke to, that's going to play a big factor as well. So if you were speaking to the CEO of the company, you guys had a good conversation, you built good rapport, you're on the phone for 10 or 15 minutes, let's say, and at the end of the conversation, you feel like he genuinely likes you and wants to work with you, but where they are as a company may not put them in a position to bring on any new Amazon sellers, any new authorized Amazon sellers. So in that type of situation, because I had a really good rapport with him, even though he gave me a pretty hard no, I'm still going to reach out to him possibly every 2 weeks, but most likely once a month or once every probably 4 to 6 weeks, and just check in, say, hey, checking in, staying top of mind, want to be there whenever you guys make that decision to bring on additional authorized Amazon resellers, and really just follow up on that conversation. So again, to summarize, it comes down to what's that initial answer that you got? The harsher the answer, typically the less frequently I'm going to follow up, and depends on the rapport that you built with the person you spoke to. So again, the higher their position and the better the rapport you built, most likely the more often I'm going to be following up. Now, when it comes to actual channels to use to get in touch with these people at these brands or at these distributors, in my experience, the 3 most effective channels for outreach have been email, phone, and LinkedIn. And so some people will say, like, oh, you can reach out to people on Facebook or maybe find some of their personal social media. All those things definitely work. But at the end of the day, email is the lowest hanging fruit. Calling them on the phone is going to be the most effective by far, but also going to be the least scalable and also the least easy outreach channel to outsource. And LinkedIn, I firmly believe, is totally underutilized, especially when it comes to our specific business model. There's so much low-hanging fruit on LinkedIn, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be way more receptive to outreach on LinkedIn than they would be from getting a cold email or a cold call. And as far as combining these 3 channels for outreach, that is by far going to give you your most effective rate. If you send someone an email, you connect with them on LinkedIn, leaving a note with that connection request saying that you sent them an email, and then calling them, ideally their personal number that you can get through like a data mining tool or just from general research, calling them up personally, referencing the email that you sent, referencing the LinkedIn connection request that you sent, and trying to have the conversation there over the phone. So like I said, a combination of those 3 methods are going to be your biggest success rate method by far. Now, when it comes to like the biggest mistake I see people make when it comes to follow-up is either following up too frequently or not following up frequently enough. Now, what it looks like as far as following up too frequently, so I consider follow-up to be too frequent to kind of reference one of the earlier points, like if you get a hard no from somebody, it's clear that they don't like Amazon, that, they're kind of trying to get you off the phone. But at the same time, you see that they're making a lot of mistakes on Amazon. Like there's a lot of low hanging fruit. Maybe their listings suck. Maybe they're not running PPC. Bottom line, you see a way where you can add value to that brand. I'm still going to follow up with them. Like I said, probably once every 60 days or so. And there's people that get that hard no and that still see that potential, but maybe continue to follow up too frequently. So maybe they're reaching out to that person once a week or even once every 2 weeks. So in my opinion, that's a little too frequent, because those are people that you want to stay in front of, but you don't want to annoy them, right? Because you certainly don't want to get to the point where they finally decide, okay, we're going to bring on another authorized Amazon reseller. And instead of you reaching out, every month or every 2 months and being polite and being top of mind, they're quick to disqualify you because they think, oh, I don't want to really reach out to that guy that's been pestering me once a week for, months. But on the other side of the coin, you've got, in that same situation, if you've been reaching out with them at an appropriate cadence, once every month, once every 2 months, once every 3 months, providing value, showing them ways that you can genuinely help them, well, then they're going to be much more likely to work with you if you're taking that approach. And really, at the end of the day, the too frequent follow-up is rarely the mistake. Usually it's not following up frequently enough. So I can't tell you how many times people have they have a good conversation, they build good rapport with a decision maker at a brand, and the timing just isn't right for that brand to bring on a new Amazon seller. Well, more often than not, that seller is just not going to follow up enough. They're either going to think to themselves, oh, they'll never work with me, I'll forget them, I'll just reach out to somebody else. Or they maybe follow up once or twice, they get told no, and then they never reach out to them again. When in reality, they should be following up with those brands for months or even years if they have to, if that's what it's going to take to get the account open. And again, it's going to depend on the potential you see with the brand. So for example, if it's like an 8-figure brand that has a pretty poor Amazon presence and you can add value, then I'm following up with them for years if I have to, like literally years. But there's some brands where maybe they're a smaller brand, only 1 or 2 good products. I might only follow up with them for a couple of months. And if they don't want to work with me by then I'll probably refocus my efforts on some bigger brands. So that's just how I would approach it personally. Depending on where you are in your journey, it might be a little different. But really, to summarize the points that I went over, so as far as follow-up cadence, it's going to depend on the rapport that you built with the person that you spoke to, their position as well. So again, if they're higher up, that's probably going to give you an opportunity to follow up a little more frequently because they actually have decision-making ability, as well as the initial answer that they gave you. So if they gave you a hard no, it's going to be a little different as far as my cadence is concerned than if they would have said, oh, the timing's just not right now. So the second point that we covered was going over email, phone, and LinkedIn for being the 3 most effective channels for outreach. Ideally, a combination of these 3 channels is going to be by far your best bet to get in touch with some of these decision makers. And then the last point was either don't follow up too frequently, but also don't follow up too infrequently. And the mistake that 99% of people make is just not following up enough. So if this type of video was helpful, guys, please let me know. Those are the tips that I have as far as follow-up is concerned, and thank you so much for watching.